Barry Schwartz, founder of Search Engine Roundtable, editor at Search Engine Land, the guy who most SEOs get their news from. Thank you so much for joining to talk about this recent Google update. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Really a pleasure. All right, let's just jump into it. What are the biggest changes in this core update compared to previous ones?
Honestly, we don't know yet. It just was announced last Thursday, March 13th. By now, usually we see a lot of ranking volatility. We're starting now to see it a little bit this morning. I'm not trying to downplay those who actually are seeing significant ranking volatility for their websites right now, but generally by now we usually see a lot of websites seeing a lot of ranking volatility. It seems like I haven't seen a lot of like a widespread spectrum of sites being hit yet. So I'm still trying to wait to see, what's going on. Of course, with most of these core updates, it's not just one thing. It's a lot of different variables, from content quality to site design to ads in the way. There's tons and tons of different things in terms of how the content's written. So you can't pinpoint. Like in the old days, you were able to say, Panda update was related to low quality content. Penguin was related to bad links. Back in the old days, you were able to isolate specific algorithm updates with specific little technical factors. Core updates generally not. And with this core update, it really hasn't reached out yet, where it's not done rolling out and it's not fully done. But at the same time, we really haven't seen significant chatter, at least as of early Monday morning, March 17th.
So it's a lot more calm than previous ones. For example, the March update last year.
Yeah, right now it's currently calm. Doesn't mean it will be. Maybe tomorrow we'll see a lot more volatility. If you want to see something new with this update, when Google announced this on LinkedIn specifically, they said not only is this a regular update, which they say a lot, and they say this update is designed to better surface relevant, satisfying content for searchers, they also added this line about, we continue our work to surface more content from creators through a series of improvements throughout this year. Some have already happened, and additional ones will come later. And that statement kind of makes you scratch your head. Like, Google's been saying this to content creators since the September helpful content update, a couple of years ago, and there's still a lot of these people are seeing. Sorry, but still a lot of these people are seeing. I'm sorry about
all
that.
good. All good.
Still a lot of these. Should I start again, or?
No, I said all good. You know what? I'm going to make sure I'm on airplane mode too.
I usually hit that. I'm sorry. And a lot of these content creators are still waiting to actually see like any significant boost in their rankings, since Google's been saying this since the December helpful content update. They said it again with last year's March core update. They said this again previous to that and after that. So for them to say this again and to say, we still have stuff to do around this, could be really, really, painstaking for a lot of these sites that were hit by these previous core updates and previous helpful content updates.
What I thought was so interesting about the creator line is, and I talk about this on the show all the time, is how well video is ranking within Google now. And it's not just from Google, it's not just from YouTube. It's TikToks, it's Instagram Reels, and then of course it's YouTube Shorts and main YouTube videos.
Yeah, we're seeing you're saying videos in general are ranking pretty well.
Yeah, if you have a keyword you're targeting, and you put that keyword at the beginning of the video description, and then maybe you take the video transcript and then you just use that as the rest of the description. So on TikTok, you only have the description field. On Instagram Reels, you only have the description field. YouTube Shorts and YouTube, you have the title field and the description field. So you put the keyword in the title field and the description field. And if you do that, you have a pretty good chance of ranking, like literally within a few hours, for a piece of content that you might have made in 5 minutes, above all the articles that took weeks to make.
Right. So there's two things with that. One is, a lot of content creators who were hit by these previous helpful content update and core updates are using YouTube and video as a strategy to diversify their traffic and get more traffic to their content. Two is, those are ranking well because they are on very popular websites. YouTube gets linked to all the time. TikTok gets linked to all the time. So those sites that have lots of links to it and lots of authority, they generally do tend to rank well. And the final thing is that Google has these dedicated spots just for video, meaning they have their video slots. They have a video tab. They have short videos embedded. They have social media. They call hidden gems showing up. So Google has dedicated spots for video and social related content. And because of that, you should definitely take advantage of anything you could do to, if your content's not showing up from your own domain name, leverage these third parties.
You're probably watching this because you want customers or users or prospects for your business. Definitely customers. Users and prospects are a great way to get there. I have great news for you. I just released the most incredible program showing how to do this. It uses SEO search engine optimization to target customers who are looking for exactly what you are offering. These aren't people asking why, what, when. These are people who know what they want. They don't know the brand that's going to give it to them. And so they're looking for your brand. They're searching on Google. They're searching on Bing. They're asking ChatGPT. This method works even for ChatGPT or for Gemini or for Claude. SEO is my favorite channel because you can target people with purchase intent. People who are cash in hand, they're ready to purchase, they're ready to use, they're ready to take a call from you. This program gives an actionable plan, not just definitions and explanations. It's videos and templates that are meant to be copied and adapted for your business. It shows how to get the results that I get every day with step-by-step breakdowns. I make it super clear how to do this. It's very in-depth. Lots of people are already getting huge results from it. People are making tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars a month from this. I hope you'll check it out. It's at compactkeywords.com. Back to the podcast.
To go ahead and get your content to show up somehow.
And there's a lot of chatter that user-generated content is really being prioritized. Like Reddit now, I think, is like the third most clicked within organic search.
Yeah, that's definitely the case. Google had their partnership with Reddit. Google says it has nothing to do with why they rank well. Before that, Google had their hidden gem stuff going out. They have their social media posts. They do have a section for what things people are saying, discussion and forums sections in the Google search results. So there are sections devoted for social media platforms. Reddit is a very popular social media platform. You have Quora, you have other social media platforms that do show up there, but Reddit is by far the most popular one. And I don't know. I mean, we've seen this before over the years with Google history, where Wikipedia ranked very well, and then Yahoo Answers before that, and people are like, "Oh, I'm going to put all my eggs into Yahoo Answers," and then Google's like, "You know what? We're going to flip the switch, and they're not going to rank so well in the future." So I would be careful putting all your eggs into Reddit. Just because they're ranking well today doesn't mean they'll rank well tomorrow. But at the same time, if it's easy for you and you have a strategy there, you should definitely prioritize your social media strategy to include Reddit as well as other sites that are maybe showing up. Depending on your niche, it might be like if you're on a travel website and you do travel stuff, sometimes like the travel forums tend to rank well in those discussion forums. So see what's ranking well for your specific keywords and maybe join those discussion forums, because one is that content ranks well, and two is there's lots of great discussions in there for you to leverage to actually write really great content for your own website.
That's a great point, how we've seen lots of websites kind of get purged or downplayed in the search results where SEOs have put all their eggs into that basket, third-party websites.
Yeah, I mean, this is a topic that's gone on since, I think, the Florida update in 2003, literally over 2 decades ago. And everyone was like, oh, Google can make an update and it could destroy your business. And for that reason, you need to go ahead and make sure to diversify your traffic. At the same time, if you're doing really, really well in Google all of a sudden because Google did an update and it's rewarding your website and you're getting tons of traffic, and then Google does an update in 6 months from now and your website traffic drops significantly, you weren't planning for Google to send you 1 million visitors over the past 6 months, but to lose that going forward is really devastating. So at the same time, while you're doing well, make sure to put that money in the bank, invest it, outside of areas of Google search necessarily, so that you can go ahead and, if you do have slow times, you could go ahead and continue to invest in your website so that when Google does another update in the future and it rewards you and so forth. My website has been hit by many core updates over the years, or not just core updates, but Panda and so forth. Thankfully, I don't really depend on that for income, but at the same time, when my business got, COVID came around, my business, I didn't know what the certainty with my business would be. Thankfully, I saved a lot of money, and I told my employees, we have enough money to keep you employed for, a year or two. So don't worry, we're good. And it's any business sense is to make sure you put enough away for bad times, for, droughts and so forth. So
that's been a question that I've been seeing a lot, and I really appreciate you kind of touched upon this. So do you have any insights on how this update might affect smaller or independent websites compared to larger publishers?
That's right. I mean, larger publishers definitely have a lot more money in the bank, but you also see them complaining. Like you see like Chegg, the big technology education company. They are going bankrupt. They were publicly traded, I think, and they blame Google and their Google updates and all that type of stuff and say we're going out of business because of Google and Google AI overviews and so forth. So yeah, I mean, you do see people, even large companies, being impacted very, very bad way by Google. Even Reddit, I think on their last earnings call, who's doing so well with Google search, Reddit complained about Google algorithm updates hurting their business in a previous quarter. So it's not just the small players. It's the small players that when they get hit, they don't have the money in the bank to, weather it out. Whereas the larger players generally do, not all of them, but generally do. And it hurts the smaller players most because, you're making sales based on day to day. You're making, be able to pay your salaries based on making sales on a day to day basis. You don't have a nest egg for it, then you're in trouble. So it just tends to be that larger companies are able to weather it better than smaller companies, but all companies, large and small, are hit probably just as badly as some others. So I don't think it's like a large versus small thing. Of course, a lot of people like to say that's the case, but I don't think that's the case.
Aside from putting money in the bank during good times, do you have any more advice for smaller independent websites?
Obviously keep creating great content. I always tell people, I've been saying this for years, if you have somebody who writes the search algorithms for ranking and so forth, and they find your website and they become in love with your website, but then they're like, why does it not rank in Google search? Why am I not finding it surface for for queries that are related to that type of content? Maybe they'll go and they'll be embarrassed by the search results and do something to not necessarily reward your specific website, but figure out why the algorithm is not doing what it should be doing. And that's on the core search side. So keep improving your website. Obviously, you have to have money in the bank to do that, but keep doing it. Do it as a passion of love and labor, where it's not something that you are doing something just to make money. Because if you're doing something just to make money, generally, not all the time, but generally you don't have your heart into it. You just have your money into it. If you have your heart into something and you love doing it, it will show in the content that you're creating generally. Also, you should definitely look to diversify across other networks, like not just buying ads, but also social media, video. You could do any new stuff you're thinking about, doing some social media, not just social media campaigns, but also like creating viral types of content that might explode in your industry. Join the social networks that are niche in your topics. Like I'm deep involved in the SEO community in all these types of diverse niche sections, not just social, not just like Twitter and LinkedIn and Blue Sky or whatever it might be, but also, deep inside unheard of like forums, in private forums and so forth. So get involved in the community. Do these podcasts like we're doing now. That's another way to diversify your traffic, so you get your brand out there. And ultimately, especially the concern around AI overviews, not generating clicks to your website. If people know to search for your brand, and the only way to build up your brand is not just to get clicks from Google search, but also to be on these podcasts, to do videos, to be found in other areas, you will do well. If people are searching for your brand, you should be able to be fine during any types of downturn.
So diversify. I want to ask you about AI in a second, but do you have thoughts about maybe what type of content on websites is being prioritized or downplayed? So lots of people now are saying, well, short content actually is better, and the skyscraper technique, that's not really a good way to invest your time and capital. That would be an example. Or maybe targeting bottom of funnel keywords or top of funnel. So top of funnel are the types of questions that ChatGPT can answer. Bottom of funnel, there's not a lot of companies that really go after bottom of funnel keywords very well, demand generation keywords.
So these are exactly the types of questions you should not be asking, to be honest.
Why is that?
This is the type of content that Google doesn't want to rank well. If you're writing what should I write and how should I write it that will rank well in Google search, that's the type of stuff that Google's like, this person's writing this content for search. So one day, people were telling me my content's too short on Search Engine Roundtable. I'm like, I don't care. I get to the point. My readers want me to get to the point. They don't want me to add fluff like these recipe blogs do, just adding a whole story on top of a story on top of a story just so it has enough words. I get to the point not to waste my readers' time. I do what I think is best for my readers because I want to build a brand that people think that I know that people think it's something that they want to go to on a day-to-day basis. I get hit by a Google update and they still are coming to my website through direct traffic or through subscribing to my email newsletter or subscribing to my YouTube channel because they trust what I have to say. I'm not there to waste their time, to add fluff, just to go ahead and to kind of trick Google to rank me very well. That's not why I do it. And I think as long as you're focused on trying to write the best content for your user, if Google doesn't get it right, Google's not going to be in business in the future. They're going to be some other search engine. ChatGPT search or other search engines that actually go ahead and do better because the searcher wants to find something they love. And if the searcher can't find it on Google, which a lot of searchers have been complaining about over the past couple of years, they're going to go to other search engines, Perplexity, ChatGPT, Bing, Yahoo, whatever it might be, DuckDuckGo, you name it. There's other alternatives. And slowly that behavior from searcher behavior is going to change over the years. So I think ultimately you got to do what's best for your user to retain your user. And if you're just writing content that you think is going to rank well because, have to hit 3,000 words of characters on the page, I don't know. I think that's the wrong approach.
Well, actually, the reason I asked is because I think SEO in the past it's been a lot of over optimization. It's been a lot of these super long articles that didn't really need to be this long. And like in a recent discussion on the SEO subreddit, people are like, this page does not have to be 3,000 words to answer this question. It could literally be 200 words. And my personal opinion on this is that like the goal with SEO is to satisfy search intent with the above the fold section before people even start scrolling. And that's also like a reason that Reddit is ranking so well. Is a lot of searchers are tired of searching through long articles trying to find what they're looking for, and Reddit just gives it to them fast. And
right.
I personally think shorter content does better because most content in the past has just been a lot longer than it actually needed to be. And so shorter just means good.
Right. I remember I had this conversation with somebody else like 5 years ago, and they're like, Barry, you need to write longer content because that's what Google wants. And I'm like, look at featured snippets. Google is giving people a short snippet of what you're writing because Google knows that people don't have the attention span to read it all. And I remember like Danny Sullivan, who now works at Google, but I previously worked with him at Search Engine Land, so forth. He's like, always get to the point in the first paragraph, in the first few sentences. And again, you need to do that. If you want to add more fluff at the end, to not add fluff purposes, but to really explain stuff that people need where you need to explain it, fine. But don't do that before you actually get to the point. I read some stories from people, and it's like, until you get to the point, it's just like, it's hard. And I don't want to, it's like, I have things I need to do with my time. And again, I think that's valuable. I think you're right when it comes to Reddit. It gives people the answer right away. And you're able to like sort the best answers at the top as well, which is user rated, which is great. And I think every writer should be thinking about how can I satisfy who's going to my article, that specific piece of content. They should get the answer right away. And if they want to read more, fine. But you don't necessarily have to write more just because Google ranks better. If you get to the point and you get to the point in a paragraph or two, fine. If you need to write 20 paragraphs to get to the point, fine. But get to the point right away, and then start with your, like a good lawyer starts with their opening, statements. They get into all the details and they close quickly, and so forth. You have to summarize it so that you can keep the attention span of the juror, and the juror is really the people reading your website.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. My best performing SEO, it's literally the above the fold looks like this. You have it's mostly targeting bottom of funnel content because that just converts way better. I personally think it's way easier, and a lot of bottom of funnel keywords are overlooked by SEOs and digital marketers. So they're just because naturally at the bottom of the funnel, there's less search volume. So they're less competitive. And literally it's just above the fold, you have an image, you have your H1, you have like literally 2 to 3 sentences of copy, and then you have a call to action button, and the entire page will be like 400 to 500 words because that's all that you need. It's really all that you need. I want to move to AI, and specifically your thoughts on this update, and then maybe the broader landscape. So with AI generated content becoming more prevalent, and actually I was having this discussion with Bill Hartzer, who was on the podcast recently. With AI generated content becoming more prevalent, how do you think Google is going to handle it in future updates? So people putting AI generated text on their sites.
Yeah. I was surprised by Google's statements early on. So Google's been talking about this for a while, saying that AI generated content's fine as long as it's helpful content, useful content for the user. And then you saw these people create crazy amounts of content, spin up websites with unlimited amounts of, like you've seen like hundreds of pieces of content every hour come up, and Google has to deal with it. And I'm surprised Google's saying it's okay, assuming the content's good, because it's really not okay. I don't think it's sustainable for Google to just constantly index stuff that is high quality but generated by AI. I think when Google has this EAT stuff, I think they're gonna add a 30 for like entertainment factor, because maybe robots won't have that entertainment fact. They need to do something above and beyond what AI could do to write content that only maybe humans could do to actually rank well in Google search, I think, in the future. Now, that's not the case currently. There are plenty of examples of content that's either AI assisted, meaning you write it yourself, you have AI help you with it during the process, which is probably the best use case of it. And you also have examples of people over a 0 month to 12-month period just generating AI, fully 100% AI generated content, ranking well. And ultimately, somebody points it out to Google, and Google goes after it after several months, and it's not a really sustainable long-term effect. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure why. I mean, I think Google has to change their stance on this topic. But at the same time, you should be looking at how to use AI to improve your content, but not to just use it to 100% generate your content.
Yeah, I like that answer a lot. What Bill Hartzer said, what we basically talked about was right now, Google does not have automatic AI detection, but in the future, there's a good chance that they will. It's just the cost of actually detecting AI generated text is continuing to decrease, and when it hits that point, they'll just put it in, and then it's going to be kind of like a bloodbath for people who are just generating hundreds of pages a day with AI.
I think so. I can't know for sure. Until Google announces there changes something there. I don't know.
So you reported on this before, but Gary Illyes, and I don't know if I'm pronouncing his last name, correct me if I didn't say it properly, who's an outspoken analyst on the Google search team. He said a few weeks ago that 2025, they want to prioritize original content. Actually, yeah, I remember. I was reading it on your site, on Search Engine Roundtable. So do you have any thoughts on what original content means?
Yeah, I think he said that because of AI, and there's so much. What AI is good at is taking what it finds on the web that's not original and smashing it all together and making it sound really great. So he's like, you know what? To make something original, you have to make something original that's not out on the web. And that's hard to do. You have to invent something an original thought, to sell a book that really does well. You got to come up with some type of original thought that's really, really out there. There's a famous Barry Schwartz out there, not me, but this guy named Barry Schwartz who wrote The Paradox of Choice. That's an original thought idea. And he gets asked to speak all over the world. He's a professional, very famous professor, and he gets quoted all the time from writing several books. And his main idea is Paradox of Choice. So you have to come up with something that's really original and unique that other people haven't copied yet. And then eventually people will copy it and you have to do it again. That's the problem. Even you see this with Amazon sellers, you have a new product that nobody else is selling on Amazon, and then everybody starts copying it, and then Amazon steals it and takes it from everybody else and copies it as well. So this is the world how everybody copies each other, and the AI is really, really efficient about copying things. And that's why I think that's why he said what's becoming something completely original. And that's what it is, something completely original that's not out there. And what we're doing, it's not necessarily original, but maybe the words we're saying at the time right now are original until maybe some AI bot listens to what we're saying and then reproduces it themselves. So that's what I think he means when it comes to doing something that's a really original, because AI just is really good at copying people.
That's true. And AI generated text, a lot of it just kind of rambles as well. And which goes back to our point before. I've seen so many people generate just entire AI pages that ramble and that don't address the query immediately. And so the original thing to do in that scenario would actually be hey, give the answer above the fold and give it with as few words as possible.
Right.
So I want to kind of go back to this update. One year ago, lots of SEOs reported that their content sites were obliterated after the March update. And there was this viral thread on the SEO subreddit where someone was like, my content site was obliterated. I was looking for sites on Flippa. All of them were obliterated. Looking for content sites on Flippa. All of them were obliterated. This other site, great niche, brandable domain, and it was doing so well, completely obliterated. And so that was going viral literally around this time 1 year ago. And now some people are reporting their content sites bouncing back. But it seems to be pretty volatile and honestly all over the place. So I guess my question is do you think there's a future for content sites? And I actually kind of know your answer based on what we talked before. But also, how do you think these sites that were quote unquote obliterated could bounce back if there is a way?
I mean, with every Google update, there's a chance for a website to bounce back. It's not like it's going to bounce back. So I've seen some cases where websites have made zero changes to their content and it did bounce back. So I'm not going to say it's impossible, but generally Google has said to bounce back or to come back with the next core update, you need to make significant changes to your website, meaning rethink how your content is written, rethink about your navigation, maybe rethink the content choices you're making, and maybe get rid of a lot of the content that wasn't doing well, or maybe just rethink the whole entire website and start from scratch. You see even large publishers like The Verge, they used to get tremendous amount of traffic from Google. They probably still do, but it's not enough right now to maintain their ad revenue. The traffic and impressions are just not there. So now they're coming up with a subscription model where they people subscribe. So even large publishers are having these issues, and I don't think any publisher is getting as much traffic as they were. I mean, any legacy publisher that's been around for a long time is probably not getting as much traffic as they did 5-10 years ago than they are now. They're probably getting a lot less traffic now than they were 5 years ago from Google. And because of that, there's no back to normal for these websites. Even if they want to bounce back, there might be some extreme examples of some websites that really, really do well because they're being really rewarded by Google search today. But ultimately, if they were doing really, really well 5 years ago, they're probably not seeing those same traffic levels today, even if they are perfectly fine and ranking really well in Google search. It's just Google just doesn't send as much traffic to publishers because of all the other things on the page, AIO reviews, feature snippets, ads, whatever it might be, videos. It's just not the same. So I don't think there is ever going to be a case of bouncing back to where you were, per se.
You kind of touched on this before, but I want to just ask it explicitly with this recent update. Do you think there are any niches that will be more affected than others?
I think the stuff that's not as competitive is easier. It's the stuff that maybe is not written about as much. The problem is everything's on Reddit, but not everything is written about. And it used to be like Google would beg people to write content, especially in other foreign languages. But even in the US, it was there wasn't enough content on certain topics. And the stuff that was really, had a lot of content were the stuff that were easily monetizable. And that's no longer the case. There's really content in every language on every single topic that you could get to. So now Google has a really nice choice of stuff they could do. So what the advice back then was to write about a niche topic. Now the advice is write about something that you're super passionate about, that you really understand really well, that you would write about anyway, even if you weren't making money. Something you do on the side or something and you do it daily. Like even my Search and Roundtable site, it's not where I make my money. I write about it because I have a huge passion about search and SEO and all that type of stuff. I don't make my money off of it. I make some money on it, but it's not how I pay my bills. And because of that, I think people like it because I have a true passion for how search engines work and writing about covering the search industry. And I think that's what I recommend for anybody who wants to start a blog or start any type of website is do something that you're truly passionate about, that you can actually make a difference with, and that you feel like you can make some type of change in how people do their day-to-day.
Awesome. I know you have to go in a minute or two. So last question will be with this recent update. So it sounds like things are pretty calm, and it sounds like when you have good times, take that money and diversify. That would be like your general advice. But do you have any other advice for basically SEOs, people with clients, or just people with their own businesses that are doing a lot of SEOs in the future? Like, what should we be paying attention to right now?
So we mentioned all the things around diversification and, in terms of SEO itself, again, it all comes back to doing something writing stuff that you really have an expertise for and that you really love. I think it all comes down to that. Otherwise, the search engines really aren't going to reward you too well. Of course, you see examples of sites doing the complete opposite and doing really well today. But ultimately, I have my site for over 20 years. And a lot of sites have come and gone because they don't have a passion for it. So, ultimately, I think if you have a passion for a specific topic, you'll find an audience. Will that audience be on Google in the future? Right now, there is a significant audience on Google, but will Google lose, market share over the years? Potentially. And will that market share go somewhere else that your users are going to? Probably. Again, you need to build a brand. You need to be the brand for your industry. You need to be the brand for your niche. You need to be the brand for your topic, and you won't have any problem going forward. You don't have to depend on Google if you are the brand.
I'm actually so glad that you said that, because I realized that I wanted to ask you what your thoughts were for the SEOs who are really worried about market share going to going to ChatGPT or Gemini or wherever, or to TikTok. And I really personally like your advice, which is build a brand. I think so many people, they create a website first and foremost to do SEO, and then they build a brand around that. But what a lot of people don't do is they don't have their brand, and then the website is for their brand, if that makes sense.
For sure. Yeah. These days, you really need to build a brand to survive, because like you said, I mean, the trend could go from Reddit to Yahoo to Wikipedia to somewhere else. I mean, I have a Wikipedia page. It's hard to get a Wikipedia page and so forth, but you need to build that brand so that you could be on these places that people search for or people find.
And your brand is awesome. You have, I think it's a daily newsletter. And I mean, really, like most SEOs, when I was working at Dentsu Aegis, everyone was seeing what you wrote every day. And it's so clear that this is your passion. And your brand is really awesome. I couldn't be more grateful for you coming on the show today. Where should everybody find you? For those who already don't know.
I'm everywhere but like TikTok. You can find me on rustybrick.com/Barry. That has a whole summary of where you can find me. I'm on Twitter, X, whatever, Blue Sky, LinkedIn, Facebook. So you name it. I'm pretty much everywhere. Check out my YouTube channel as well. I'm everywhere.
And your handles are Rusty Brick across everything?
Yeah, just search for Rusty Brick across pretty much everything. Yeah.
Awesome. Barry, stick around after I say the closing, just so the video uploads. But for everybody who just watched or listened, thank you so much for watching and listening. This is episode 621 of my daily digital marketing show. 621 days in a row doing this thing without missing a day. 621. Everybody, thanks again. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. I will talk to you again tomorrow. Bye now.